are going to spot the obvious. They're not going to spot the not so obvious. And it's those people that slip through the net. And that's really unfair and it's wrong. And one of the key things that, again, that I wanted Michelle Ramos to talk about, because I found this really interesting, because I can't ever come to a room without doing some homework. So I was going through all my notes and looking at the phonologic, which is one type of dyslexia. So that's where it's the audio is as important as the visual. Then you've got the surface, which is very much the visual. Then you've got the rapid naming deficit, where if you laid certain things down in order, they wouldn't be able to remember the sequence. And then they said there's also the double deficit, where there's the photo, which is the back to the phono, which is the audio plus the rapid naming. So you have got so many combinations of dyslexia that you could have one or all four. And unless teachers are given this training, how the flipping heck are they supposed to know? And so you as parents are fighting, or sorry, advocating is the right term. Sorry, not fighting. You're advocating for your child because you know there's a problem. You've reached a brick wall and you don't know where to go with that. And if you don't get the support from the teaching staff, then you are stuck. Then it's through the medical side. So I'd like to pass that one to Michelle Ramos, because I'd really like for you to give me an idea of just how hard it is to fight or to advocate for something that isn't even recognized. Can I chuck that at you?
That's such a brilliant. Look, I was sitting here making them. So there's like I guess a comparison. So Noni, she has OZK, like Global Food Network. And there was recently a podcast released that was about eating disorders. And it was a great part where they referenced that so many know bulimia, anorexia, but then there are other conditions that are eating disorders that are not even known about, or if known about, not understood the severity of how much worse than anorexia or bulimia these conditions are. And that is one thing I feel like you hit it on the head with this, because think of myself. I have epilepsy that gives me the disconnect in my mind where it affects speech, it affects memory, it affects coordination from depth to actual physical touch. So many things across the board just with the epilepsy are affected that can align with characteristics someone with dyslexia would go through. Same thing with aphantasia. My entire life, thought counting sheep was a metaphor. I have a very difficult time in conversation with people because I don't have mental visualization. So I struggle a lot to articulate what or how to say things, because I just, unless I've seen it or experienced it, read it, like unless there's like a tangible way of understanding it, then there's no way for me to even, I don't know how to have the conversation. And the teachers, so I think with what you're, one of the key, I think what I hear differences with the states and then there is, so here we lack funding. We know the severity of the issue, yet the appropriate funding and allocations of resources is so inadequate. But then it's one of the help make it make sense. How do you tackle the educational aspect of it without the medical, or without taking medical and correlating it with mental health? And then how do you do it and not bring in the community resources? Or how do community resources say that their funding and their grants and everything allow them to help minority communities? So when they look at you, just because you haven't filled out an application or check boxes, they might see one thing, not knowing you are a minority, and they immediately dismiss you. There's so many real life lived components that are never taken into consideration. Then you get the people that matter the most in the future of our world, our leadership, our children, are the most underpaid and abused people, from teachers to the lunch ladies to preschool people, anything that has to do with our youth. We got it backwards with the people that are making bank and the people that are nurturing who we are going to depend on at one point or another in life. And I hope I answered your question, because I could just keep going. So I'm gonna just let it go right there.
Yes, no, thank you, Michelle. So a couple of comments I wanted to mention, and so what Christiana says, you're right, Michelle. People have not been educated in lived experiences and only academic and theoretical education. And we can flip that the other way. So, basically, we need
That's one of
everything.
my hugest advocacies across the board, any
Yeah.
sector of life. Lived experience is not given, at least here in the States, it is not given near what value it represents.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Habib, welcome. So, good greetings, everyone. Glad you're here. So, thank you so much for joining us. So, Coach David, I'm going to come to you in a second. A couple more comments. Byron says, in late '65, there are lots of kids who slip through the cracks, and almost like there's a generational gap.
And unfortunately, from 1965 to 1975, 85, 95, 05, they're still slipping through the cracks.
Yes.
Our historical patterns have shown we are doing it wrong.
So it's more like a lifetime gap, more than a generational. Thank you so much. Look, if you're here, my friends, you can join the studio. The link is on the event page. If you want me to send you the link to your DM, if we're not connected, I'll send you a connection request. Just put in the comments here. Send me the link, any, please. That's what you have to say. You don't have to say please. Just say send me the link. I'll send you the link.
If somebody's not connected with any, we have a problem. He connects to everybody.
But just one quick point, because there's something that was brought up there that I think is really, really important. If 10% of the population have dyslexia, and we know that as a fact, so that is not something that has been pulled out of the sky. That is a fact. And we know that's exactly the same in the States. So that probably means it's the same in every country, right? What we should be doing is looking at where they're doing it well. In which country are they doing it well? And then say, let's mirror that, right? Because there will be a country, you can be sure of that is doing
I
it
think
well.
it's Norway, but I'm really going to have to double check.
I think it's Norway, Sweden. I think most of that sector are all so on top of it. Yeah. Yeah. All of the Scandinavian countries, they have such high presence of understanding. It's as if they've actually been taught what is emotional intelligence at the age of 4, and therefore the parent knows, the teacher knows, the child knows. Everybody can talk on the same language and the same way without anybody feeling like anyone's having a go at anyone. You're just saying, my child can't read, my child's not doing this. It doesn't have to be a fight. And I think that's the difference.
Countries,
It's very easy to know how they do it.
These
Mm.
countries, when you study them in a
Oh,
deep cultural way, when you study them in a deep cultural way, Norway and Sweden and all of these different countries, one thing that you will learn that is one of their foundational pillars at the root of everything, it is not necessarily that it's family, but it's community.
mm.
And
True.
their base root starts in community. Whether you look at their prison systems and their prison reform, and look at how low or unheard of reincarceration is, like, it is literally community.
I like that. I mean, it does say that we have an issue, or it's not just I say we, I guess the UK, US, we have an issue of discrimination. That's what it comes down to.
But we need to learn from them, because that's what I was going to say. Community. If you look at their whole situation, the whole way they've lived, they've never changed. It's community, you guys. It's
It's
learning. It's community. Not. I study them a lot. I really
it's
like
true.
them. And
Look,
it's like that's the answer. Let's follow them. And we actually are, whether we know it or not, just by talking about it, just by us studying them. I mean, the ice water baths they do, we have known about this. We have football players, we have athletes that do that constantly. You know what, though? We have all these different communities. No, they are a community of people that are making other communities in their communities. It's brilliant. I see the pattern that they've done their whole lives. And it's just like, how are we so stupid? Well, I can tell you, it was about money. It wasn't about anything else. It was about not wanting to take the time and actually put money into our education. Oh, I apologize.
It's not just money. It's not just money. It's kindness.
Yeah, and
We do
kindness.
not have a
Compassion.
culture of kindness.
Compassion.
We do not have a culture of kindness and compassion. And until that changes, it's like, oh, they're taking money, they're grabbing money for this, they're grabbing money for that. It's almost as if the disabled child, or the child with a disability or a neurodivergence, or whatever you want to call it, and it's never ever insulting to say to somebody you have ND whatever, right? It's not an insult. The most important thing is you understand you're saying there is something that you may need additional help with. That's all it says, right?
Yeah.
And what really frustrates me is when people go, but that child is taking from that child. That child is now, because of that child, we can't have, I don't know, this, whatever, because we've got to put extra TAs in the classroom for all these children with all these issues. I've heard it. I've actually heard that said. And that broke me when I first heard it. The next time I heard it, I went to war. And the difference was, the first time it hurt emotionally. I wasn't prepared. The second time I went in and I was like, really? Well, should we have this conversation outside? Because I don't think the little ones need to hear it. And then I took her outside, and I didn't bash her, I swear. I just said, you need to understand. You need to understand that every child deserves the same chance, right? And if you can't see that, you've got the problem, not the child. So please don't blame the child, right? And we're talking about 4, 5-year-olds. Parents are like angry, and that's a very serious problem. So I just shut up then. I just thought it was worth mentioning.
No. So, Coach David, I'm going to come to you in a second. Give me truly a second. I said, no, says, oh, it's not coming up on my screen. Why not? Patience is going to add to the door, which is so unfortunate. It's true. It's kindness and it's compassion again, right? So Byron said, can you tell me why they have cures for people, but they keep it hidden? I'm so glad we're talking about this now. And it comes down to things that the Michelle's have mentioned, and Paulette just talked about. Is a kindness thing, lack of, or reducing amounts of compassion for people. You know, I'm sure the money thing comes into it as well. You know, there's always that funding issue. Yeah, but people, I guess, people hide behind funding policies. Because
Unfortunately, that is true. In the States, I do know, and I love America. I do. I love my soil. Doesn't mean I gotta like everyone in it, and that's how everyone acts. All right, but
yeah.
I've really noticed that, like, if you work for a company and you get their insurance, you can only go to certain doctors, am I right? Because they only pay for that. All right. So in a political party, if you're on a political party, you can only do certain things that political party kind of wants to do, or otherwise the other political party gets upset, which it shouldn't be that way. Because honestly, I've noticed with both political parties, they want the same thing. It's just different wording and who wins. It's like, let's play Red Rover and see who goes through first. And it's kind of like, I understand it, because if we don't make money, we can't invest money. Am I right, folks? So I think it's a lot to do with money, and they're not hiding behind policies. Unfortunately, sometimes you can't because of other policies. And it's kind of like we in America have just decided, oh, well, let's just name this policy. Let's throw this policy out. You know what? We need to get rid of all those policies and start fresh, because obviously all those policies never worked. And we've proven that over the last 8 years. I see it working actually now. What they're doing, I see the pattern that's happening, and I'm not going to lie. It's rough right now, yes, for everyone, but I see exactly what they're doing, and it's going to make total sense and up our economy and our food, our people, everything, Social Security, everything. It's just we have like policy, and then you got to give money to that policy, and then some of those policies don't even exist anymore, but people are still giving them money. And we need to bring all that together and find out which policies really aren't in effect anymore, and quit just put money in them. And let's bring all this money back to where it's supposed to be. Each state can work on itself. Each state we have our own universities, and I see that's working out perfectly. And I guess I shouldn't have gone there, and I did. And I don't apologize for it whatsoever. I don't. There's a lot of things during COVID. There was no rural disability fund. When they went to go get it during COVID, guess what wasn't there for Nevada? $57 million. Not one disabled kid got that money. So where did it go? Who knows? Who cares? But either way, now we're going to fix that. But that's what I'm saying. That was what our issue was. And COVID showed the cracks.
No, it did.
Now we just need to.
Definitely.
Look,
No question. One thing, one just quick question before you pass to Coach. Can we just keep trying to remember as well that if we don't help the dyslexic children, let me just say this again, 10% of your whole country is going to find it a struggle to get employment, because they're not even going to be able to fill the application forms in. So 10% of the children, unless they've got parents who can support them or other people, if you don't fix the problem at grassroots level, the problem stays there to adulthood. And then you've got adults relying on the state because they can't get work. So it's not just about talking about what happens to these 5, 6, 7-year-olds. It's about what happens to the 30, 40-year-olds who can't get jobs. So just can I keep that in people's minds, please? Because, Ben, my son's got autism. I talk about it all the time. He has strategies, yes, but it doesn't take it away. It doesn't go, oh, those strategies take that problem away. It just helps with solutions. You can't fix it. It's not like you can have a pill and it'll go away. It'll never go away. And that's exactly the same with what we're talking about with dyslexia. It will never go away. You learn strategies to make it work for you. And we've got to learn to get this through to people so that when they get to adulthood, they've got the chance to earn an income and get a job and become useful to society and become part of another community. So I'll shut up.
Yeah, no, you can keep talking. It's all right. Noni says you beat me to it, Misha. I think it was your conversation about the people slipping through the cracks and people not being there to help. So Kiefer, I see you. Welcome. Glad you're here, Coach. I'm going to come to you in a second. For those on stage, I wonder if there's a question I would love you to answer. Dr. Roxana asked, how is neurodivergence diagnosed? And she says, is dyslexia not in Africa? So I wonder what your take on those two questions are. Let's go to Coach David. Otherwise, we'll lose guests and we'll lose speakers. We'll come back to you in a second. So I'm going to go to Dr. David and I'm going to go to Dr. Roxana. The mic is yours, my friend.
All right. Can everyone hear me? Hello.
Yeah, loud and clear.
All right. Professor, good to see you. Michelle, Paulette, Emmy, good to see you guys. There is dyslexia in Africa, but I think we have stronger coping mechanisms in Africa. There are some coping mechanisms in Africa that make it better, at least in the average income backgrounds or middle class, upper middle class, middle class, lower middle class cadre. There's a way that's managed that's different from the West here. But I mean, I have a couple of very interesting points. Number one, in addition to being 10%, thank you, Michelle, for your great contribution earlier. You see, the thinking in psychology, development psychology, is that dyslexia is a type of genius. Just like a strength is a weakness, and a weakness is a strength on the other side. Heavy research has shown that dyslexics process information differently in ways that normal people don't, and they are useful in society. There are big picture thinkings, big picture solutions, pattern recognition. We have dyslexics who have become Nobel laureates, and if they were normal people, it would be more difficult. The fact that they see things in another way and they're able to reverse intelligence is a blessing to humanity. And any society that wants to think, that wants to grow in leaps and bounds, and our problems as human beings are getting complex. Human problems are getting more complex. We need deeper and complex solutions and thinkers. I can give us some very heavy data. There's a whole body of research in holistic and big picture thinking, in strategic thinking, innovation, systems design. Their brain is wired to think in wholes, not just parts. Because their brain is wired that way, it's useful to help us think big picture. There's visual spatial strengths. Dyslexics have been known to see things in bigger spaces. And because they are different, we need to find people that can speak their language. And that's what Paulette was saying earlier. The empathy to train people up, special education, to train people up who can teach mathematics, English, or whatever subject, who have the patience, who have the joy, the long suffering, the faith, the happiness, the peace of mind, the lack of ambition to help these geniuses be the best they can be. We need these guys because they see things others have to compute easily. And every dyslexic and neurodivergent person by extension, because I have a friend who did a course in Canada, the first thing she told me was that she's so excited at how she has to listen to every child. Every child that is in the neurodivergent spectrum have their neurodivergence quota system. There's a way they are seeing the world. There's a way that they are able to flip the scripts, and they naturally challenge assumptions. They even help us to think about ourselves. This lady, there's somebody called Dr. Manuel Casanova, found differences in the cerebellum and neocortex of dyslexic brains tied to creative reasoning and visual processing. And that work says creative reasoning and visual processing is higher in dyslexics. Another research from Yale Center for Dyslexia and Creativity has shown dyslexics to be overrepresented in entrepreneurship and creative industries. That in creative industries, there are many people who, for example, in Africa, were not diagnosed because they found a way of coping. However, they are remarkable brains because they challenge assumptions. For example, dyslexics can start running under the rain. If there's somebody at the other end, or you put a candy at the other end, dyslexic children just start running towards the candy, ignoring the rain and the weather. And that is useful for entrepreneurship. That's useful for success. We just need people who can help and help them flip their own scripts. I'm posting those bodies of research in the chat. I hope everyone can see it. We can look at it later. But there's a lot to gain in the P&L of the country and the economy. There's a lot to gain by taking care of these children. Like I said, people that have the long suffering, people that have the energy, the joy, the peace of mind, the lack of money consciousness to help these children make the maximum input of their genius are needed in every system of the earth. Every child will not be at the same level. Every child will not be at the same level of development. And some will pick mathematics faster than English. In fact, there's a general assumption in developmental psychology that it's either you're first of all verbal or numerical. In like manner, there are people that are not verbal or numerical, they're just spatial. And because they're not verbal or numerical and they just reverse, anything they see, their brains reverses it. You say A, B, C, D, E, F, this guy just says Z, Y, and they're able to read very fast. What we need are people with the empathy to help turn that into capital because they are not useless, they are just different from us. This is a big special education need and it needs to be out there. Whatever money, these are costs I think people should be taxed for. The society should be taxed for this purpose, not the current, I'm sorry, any tax person may be online. The current tax regimes, we don't know. I don't know what goes into what. But I'm interested to see what goes into education in tax money, especially special education. Then I'll be happy to pay because you're paying for the future of our generation. Every single teacher is building the future. Every time I read a word and I understand, I thank my teachers quietly, although they're not in the room to receive the thank you, but I'm excited that they taught me how to read the signs. Every time I listen to Google Map and I don't make a mistake, it was work of a teacher. Now, we also need people and teachers who can help us craft the future because we can't ignore the neurodivergence in our generation. It's getting huge. Some people are saying it's because of vaccines. Some people are saying a lot of things, and that's a very big lesson. It will shock you that in Africa, in between our coping mechanisms and our natural systems, and I think that's what Prof is saying, Africa has managed neurodivergence well. You see, in Africa, you have to either survive or literally not survive. So then there are coping mechanisms. Even though you are neurodivergent, you find a way to survive. Adaptation for survival kicks in. You are forced double, and eventually you come out a certain way that's different. Now, you may not know. I have friends who are now entrepreneurs making a lot of money who read about dyslexia and they said, okay, that's why I struggled in lower form 5 and whatever. That means I was dyslexic and I didn't know it. It's a very big deal that we find the right amount of effort to help these people develop the necessary resilience and the capital, the economy. The problems we are facing require new thinkers, and we need these guys to be on the table. I mean, there's a lot of business case and a lot of educational research around dyslexics and neurodivergence and how they are a vibrant part of value contribution. So that's what I just wanted to chip in. But thank you. I'm excited. Prof, good to see you. Michelle, Paulette, Annie. Awesome. Thank you, so guys.
Wait, did you say that shots? I don't that that shots give dyslexia? Because, and thank you, Coach David. I love you.
There's a whole pharmaceutical conspiracy theory out there that some upsurgence, there's a correlation between jabs and the vaccines that parents give children, especially within the colored community. Now, pharmaceutical companies will deny it, and there are parents.
Shots. I never had my shots as a youth.
And there are, thank you. And the African parents who say, "I have 4 children. I didn't give 3 of them the shot and they were fine. I gave only one, and there's too many data points." Now we don't know what is true or what is not. However, whichever way, there's an upsurgence of neurodivergence. Maybe it's diets, maybe it's weather, whatever it is. Something is going up, and we need to cater for this particular group. Special education teachers need to increase in number that can actually help these children, because they are a vital part of value contribution for the future of our economies across the nations of the world. Yeah, Michelle, continue.
Awesome. Look,
I was just
let's hear from Dr. Roxana, and then let's hear from the two Michelles. How's that? Yeah. Okay. Professor Roxana, how are you? You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. You're muted.
You muted me. Okay.
Yeah, it was me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. I have been hearing about this neurodivergence, but I had teachers that majored in the education that caters for dyslexia and other things. But I had students come from their class to take my courses. You notice that some of the students are very intelligent. I don't know if you noticed that. The only thing we do is that when we give a test, we give them time and a half or twice the time. But I had one in my Calculus 2 class that he was the only person that made an A in, that was a case, that was a section. People really don't make A's there, but he was, I don't know that, is it the dyslexic? But all you need to say is the topic. By the time he comes back to class the next time, he is ready. He'll ask you, do you think I'm right? So he will be ready before he comes in. You don't even need to teach him, but just tell him what. So after looking at these children, I said, who is educating students who have this kind of problem in Africa? Not just because I taught in Africa too. I taught for 18 years. I know probably those who had that kind of problems, they probably don't have people to train them, give them special education, take them to special schools to educate them, because I cannot see every parent afford to educate their children. But the ones I'm talking about, when I was teaching Calculus 2 in technical school, the student was extraordinary, yet she was dyslexic. So I'm just saying that, what if a child is born into a family that can take care of them? Do we think that state can take over? Because I see where they said inclusiveness. We have to be inclusive. We have to tell us support and other things. But do we tell her the support every day or everywhere? So those are the questions. I'm not an expert in that area, but I have students. I have students who have to come to my class to take classes. But they may not be talking all the time. They don't have to communicate, but you know them when you see them. You ask a question you don't expect the student to know. They know them. They know what you are actually trying to say. So, but I know that not every child that is that has this problem is uh, in a family where he or she will be taking very good care of, to be trained. I mean, so I just know that it is good that they are being supported, inclusivity, advocacy, and other tailored support. But does it get to everybody? That's just my.
I want to jump in real quick. Like, first of all, I love what you just like shared. That that is amazing, and I love like I think what I love even more are those questions you just asked at the end, because if these forms of questions aren't asked across multicultural, diverse conversations, collectively taking place in this collaborative manner, like then nobody can will be educated or understand or get the awareness. So thank you. Now I want to like just to kind of like make sure I understood. Was one of the questions, this is why one question I want to answer, what I think I heard of all of them. Did you ask, like, as an overall whole, what is neurodivergence?
No, I actually know that it is a kind of sickness where some the students, I already know what it is, but my question is, are they all given equal attention? There are maybe 10%, maybe or more than that have this sickness. That was the reason why I asked if this is in Africa. If it is in Africa, who goes there to actually diagnose them and then take care of them?
So,
So,
like, I think first, and this is not, I don't want you to take it as a like invalidation or discredit in any means,
no, no, no,
but
no.
I think that it's very, very important, like, just independently to maybe recognize that neurodivergence is not about the diagnosis. And like, it's really more about recognizing that there's really not a way to be human. Okay, so like with neurodivergence and our specific topic today, which is dyslexia, it's an aspect of a neurodivergent superhero because it's a skill and it's a superpower. Just like OCD, just like PTSD, anxiety, just like airfrit, just like all these other different things. It's the diagnosis here in the States is so that there can be a label given for there to be a profit made and no loss. That's all that's about.
Michelle said,
I'm gonna
Michelle
let
said
somebody else take that real quick.
that's okay. But thank you so much. I understand. But I'm saying that some people that that have the same thing might be disadvantaged. But thank you very much. Thank you.
I
I
would
understand
Can
what you
I
say.
can I have a jump in as well there a
yeah,
sec?
go ahead.
Oh yeah,
I
go
think the
ahead.
comment, just a quick one, the comment that you made that you said, well, it was actually Coach that started me off going down this route. Why are there so many neurodivergent people becoming entrepreneurs? Is it because of their brain power? Is it because of their intelligence? Is it because of their super abilities? Or is it because they don't fit in anywhere because they don't fit, they're a round peg in a square hole. So the best way for them to be is an entrepreneur and go out there and make it for themselves. So I think that's possibly the answer to why there are an unusual number of people with ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, and other NDs who actually go out there on their own to make their own living because they don't fit in to the system. But that's when we get to working age. When we talk about, your lad that was doing his calculus paper, that could be my son. Okay, that's the sort of thing he would check it out, read it, understand it, watch a couple of YouTube videos, probably yours, and then he'd be ready, right? And then the teacher's like, "How do you know this stuff?" And it's like, I read it last night. But why? Because you've come into a lesson, so I'm ready, right? And that's the difference. It's a mechanism and a strategy. They don't get caught out. It's about not getting caught out. It's about not being the odd one that didn't know. You're so used to being the odd one that didn't know. You're so used to being the odd one that didn't understand. So you want to be ahead of the game. So a lot of the kids do a lot of learning on their own, so that when they come into class, and you talk about the A's, yeah, absolutely. And you look at the SATs, we do SATs in this country, and that the kids that get the 5s and the 6s when they come in at primary school, you can pretty much say they're going to be going to university with A grades, A levels. It's a trajectory. And they have that plotted from the age of 4 and 5 and 6. Now, that's not really fair when you think about what Latoya is saying is what happened 30 years ago. 30 years ago, some of them got through, some of them didn't, some of them made it, some of them didn't. Some are entrepreneurs, some aren't. Some are struggling, some are probably on the streets. We just don't know. But what I will say is this: when you talk about neurodivergence of any kind, and dyslexia is one of them, these kinds of conditions require a great deal of investment. That's the word. It's investment.
Yeah.
And look, Professor Roxanne, you just said, what happens to those kids whose parents can't invest, right? Over in the
Yeah.
US and in the UK, hopefully, and I say hopefully, there's the funding. Not always, but there should be the funding. It's supposed to be there, right? I know when in COVID times, Michelle, your lot was nicked, but I'm talking about, generally speaking, it should be in the pot to support these kids. But whether that happens in Africa, I don't know. That's the truth. I don't know. But
Well,
we don't. If they can't even afford to send some children to school, so how are they going to be able to support special? Do you know what I'm thinking?
special
I don't know.
I understand. I do, but I don't want to call them a square peg in a round hole or something like that. No, I know they are smart. I don't want to give them that name, but I'm telling you the truth. A whole lot of them are smart, and I think it's because there are somebody in the house or around that took very good care of them when they were small, and they took that trajectory. Because if nobody showed them, they will not be able to ask you before you're just going to be finishing the class. Somebody's going to sit behind and say, "What do you have for us tomorrow?" You may not even be thinking about assignment, and somebody says, "What do you have for us tomorrow?" Now you got to think about that, and then give him assignment because he wants it. So, but how many of them are asking that question?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Few.
but thank you so much. I
Yeah.
kind of
But when I
understand what
say a round peg in a square hole, let me just give you a quick example. And this is somebody who has got a degree, has been to university, a degree in geography for, whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, that was the degree. The point is that person can't get a job because they don't get through the interview, because they haven't got the skills or the people. And this is somebody very close to my family, and we have all tried. We've tried so hard. In fact, I employed her, and then I had to sack her, which sack your sister-in-law is not a good move, right? Nobody wants to sack your sister-in-law. I had to. I was told to. But the point is, it was because she didn't have the personal skills, the interpersonal skills that were required to do the job. And the problem was, if I could put her with the equipment in a room with just like, one or two people that she could get on with, but she was in a big office with lots of people, and they would say, "Oh, did you watch X Factor last night or Britain's Got Talent?" And she would say something like, "I don't waste my brain power on that kind of rubbish." And that would be it. That would be the end of the
Yeah.
conversation. They didn't speak to her again.
Mhm.
And the problem was gradually that more and more people said, we don't like working with her. We don't want to work with her. So it became really, really difficult. If I found a job, which I did, I found a job in another company that I was able to put some pressure on, and they employed her, but she was literally just one or two people in an office. She was there for 2 years. It's the longest employment she's ever had. Otherwise, it's always temporary jobs because she can't
Okay.
get past the interview. Because without those interpersonal skills, which would have been taught at a very young age, and that's the key. Charles was brought up with the same skills, but she hasn't got them. So it doesn't make it's just you can have the same family, the same parents, the same investment, but you've still got a difference. And there's nothing that we can say about it. It is what it is. But I think what we have to try and do is not let people slip through the cracks, so that
Yeah.
everybody gets a fair crack at the whip. And if she can't get through that interview process, eventually she'll just keep temping and temping and temping. That's fine.
Mhm.
But it's a shame. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With the right
Yeah,
help,
I do.
you might have got to something else. So
Yeah, look.
Well, that's really good. I see you talking about this the way they are brought up. If somebody is there at the beginning, making sure they are going the direction they're supposed to go, then they'll grow with that, and then they can be in any company and
Yeah,
get what is happening. Well,
yeah.
thank you so much.
And
Yeah.
Thank you.
I-
So I want to say, welcome, Dr. Joseph. I'm glad you're here. It's a DEI expert. You've written books about the topic as well. So we'd love to hear your statement and your question, Dr. Joseph. I've sent you the link to your DM. If you want to join us, please get the link, join us on stage. Dr. Latoya, oh, no, we mentioned your
Yeah,
comment.
I saw that Dr. Latoya
Yeah,
is certified to teach
yeah.
this group. That's wonderful.
And I see.
Can I say something, Dr. Roxanne? I never had this education you're talking about. I went to public schools, and not only did I go to public schools, every public school. Now, yes, in elementary, I was diagnosed. All right, that didn't mean they did anything about it. That means they broke my arm twice and sent me to special ed, like an hour twice a week. All right. Now, when I got to intermediate school, that stopped. All right. So these are public schools too. So when the teachers would get flustered with me, bam, I'm kicked out. What are we going to do with her? So then you know what they did with me? They sent me to another county, to another public school. All right. I'm in the public school. And all of a sudden they're like, you're just dumb. What the hell's wrong with you? We can't deal with you. Bam, I'm kicked out. What happens to me? They sent me to another public school in another county. But every time it happened, I moved further and further away from the one person that could take care of me, and that was my grandmother. Okay, thank God I had my grandmother. So by the third time, I had come back around to our hometown. By this time, it's high school, to go to the public school. Bam, kicked out. You don't do your homework. You don't do this. You're always doing that. Mind you, though, straight A average. This was a thing, though. They didn't know how to deal with me. So bam, kicked out again in high school. So and by this time, honestly, I was giving up on myself. And not only that, the one person that meant the world to me, my grandmother, was like, I don't know what to do. You can just drop out and get your GED. Now, this is where it gets really cool. My biological father, Ron Munger, was working on a ship in the U.S. Navy. And my grandma had written him and said, hey, I found this school for gifted people, but it costs a lot. And he's like, I don't care. Let's put her there. So I got to go to Tahoe Academy, and I actually lived there right on the property. And it's the old 4-H camp in Tahoe. At the time, that's where Tahoe Academy was. And there's like 35 kids who went to school there. They're all rich. Kids are rich. I mean, their parents are dropping down in helicopters right now. They're getting out. They're all, I drive up in a ranch truck, a little white ranch truck, all beat up and everything. And the first week I went there with an F from Yerington schools. On Friday, they actually gave me a certificate. Called my dad on the ship, couldn't do that. And he even called me on the payphone there. And I had brought my F all the way to an A in everything I did. And I was acknowledged for it. And they're like, we've never seen that before. How did you do that? And I was like, you didn't give me a chance to fail. You didn't tell me I was going to fail. It was nature. I was in nature. I could go sit against a tree, after we got out of class and everything. It was, that's where I learned all my tools. And then after that, not all my tools, I started learning my tools because the teachers there were actually professors that they hired, which was really cool. Because I loved my science teacher. He was like so cool. And he told me every morning, he's like, just put on your snow skis. Ski to class, Michelle. Get rid of that energy. I don't want you running around my class anymore. It perfectly worked. 5 a.m. in the morning, my sweats are on, my goggles are on, I've got my helmet on. I snap on my skis after I get out of my cabin because, it's wintertime. And I just skated around. But you know what? So was everyone else there. Not one of us wasn't doing stuff like that. And I can guarantee you to this day, Tahoe Academy, I follow them all the time. Were able finally to buy their own property. They're not at the same location anymore. But it was just like, we all did homework at the same time. You didn't get a chance to fail because you know what? Your teachers were there doing homework with you. Oh, you don't get it? Well, here, let me help you out. And we had an hour of that every night in the mess hall right after we ate. And if we didn't have homework, you actually got an allowance and you can go uptown to Tahoe. I mean, that's how I saw the Grateful Dead. My friends, and on the weekends, if you did good, you would get an allowance. Grateful Dead was up there that year. And man, I called up two of my friends in Yerington. I was like, the Grateful Dead's happening. And they were like, no way. And they, one of them was older than me and he had a driver's license, but his little brother was my best friend. And so they came up there because it was just a cool thing. And we got to see the Grateful Dead. It's not like we did drugs or anything. Don't worry, folks. But that's where my education came from. Now, I will tell you this. I only got to go for a year, and then I graduated. Then I got pregnant. Then I got married, and I had to keep learning my own tools. I have never stopped. I'm one of those people that if you put me in nature, I'm going to figure out that tool through my dyslexia to use it, just like I did to learn how to start talking again from my TBI I had. Dyslexic people can find a back door to anything. And I found the back door to my brain. And that's the whole reason I'm able to talk to you guys today and be able to get on a horse and everything like that. You got to find your back door to your brain when you're dyslexic, and you can do anything. It's just teaching that youth. It's okay. Find your own niche, find your own back door, but help them. I mean, it's not easy being dyslexic. We see things so much different. And,
you're doing well, though. You're doing great.
Well, no, thank you. And I am, I have great people like you that cheer me on, that makes me better every day. I thrive on you guys. I mean, and this is the biggest thing you guys, you don't know how happy I am to make this not taboo anymore globally. And us talk about it. So tomorrow I can go to Nevada Pep and say, you wanted to know about dyslexia? Guess what I brought you? another present. Here it is. Go to Annie's site. We've got Paulette. We got Dr. Roxanne. We got Michelle 1. We've got Michelle 2. You know what? Let's do this. Let's bridge the gap. And it's okay. Everything's been taboo, but we are all starting on the starting line right now. And guess what, folks? You get to start with dyslexic people. My biggest advocate right now, I see on TV. You know how cool it is. And Alon, I don't care who likes Alon and who doesn't. Alon's never been shy about what he has. And when I saw his SNL, I was like, I can do it then. And it just takes that person to you to be able to realize, well, shoot, he can do it. I can do it. And I just thank God someone's an advocate like that up there for us right now, because you know what? We will change the world. And you guys get to come along for our adventure. How cool is that? So, I mean,
You change the world. You do it.
yeah.
Indeed do. Look, I want to draw attention to Coach David's book launch on Friday, because because his book, it's about prophecy, your prophecy. So prophecy dynamics, and Coach David, help. Prophecy dynamics and there's another word there. So I've forgotten what the word is, but essentially, I think it's a belief that we all have a special gift. We all have a mission, and it's about discovering that mission and living that mission. Do join us. And he's selling his book, 630 odd pages of a book for 99 cents, only on Friday though. So do join us.
Wow.
We're all neurodivergent.
We'll have a special gift. That's the thing. Let me see. Coach David, I can't hear you, so I'm going to have to move you. Flash your mic when you're ready, my friend. We've only got another 10 minutes left, because we've got Lisa's show after this, so we need to, Paulette and I need to have a cup of tea. Otherwise, we get to be dehydrated. Michelle, the one with the special gifts, you're muted, though. Don't be muted, please.
This is amazing. So, and we got 10 minutes, and there's some things I want to touch on, and I'm going to leave it with a hypothetical, because then we will be coming together again in 2 weeks, right? So, what I'm going to do is really just kind of touch on like all these little notes that I've made. And first of all, everybody, thank you for sharing, because it takes a lot to be vulnerable, and it takes a lot to be willing to go into these forms of conversations, being non-judgmental or trying to invalidate anybody. So first, thank you everybody for this platform, and thank you for everybody asking questions and engaging, because again, that is you're the friend we want. You want the friend that asks and wants to learn and understand. So just kudos around the board. And then with this said, Michelle B hit so many things on the head, as far as, first of all, Michelle, what you're saying is not just dyslexia. This will be across the board, that many individuals, probably neurodivergent, nor neuro. There's just so many individuals that can relate to things you said, like, I had to teach myself tools. I'm not dyslexic, but I have to daily teach myself new tools. I have to daily make sure I'm learning what's working and best and evolving. And because, so like, prime example with this would be, I had a decade worth of successful tools in the toolbox. I had spent 10 years refining and building and collecting, to go through a fire, lose everything, be in shock for weeks. No, like, my mind is telling my body it has to get out of shock. You have to go, right? Get up, go. You got tools. Every tool in my toolbox, nothing worked. I couldn't comprehend. I had to go learn new tools, because And that's something important that anybody listening struggling should know. You might have had tools that worked yesterday, they might not work tomorrow. And it's in the blink of an eye, something beyond your control affects that. But it's how you move forward that dictates your grace and your integrity and your character through the situation. And like with these things said, another thing I can resonate with is that you've got a special education because you was a problem child, kicked out and given an opportunity, and you took all F's into A's in a year and proceeded to go on with life. And where I can relate, and anybody listening right now with that is, from Akron, Ohio, and definitely in the mid late 90s is gonna know. They didn't know what to do with the problem kids. They didn't know how to handle us. They didn't know how to teach us. They didn't know how to listen to us. They didn't know how to approach any aspects of life with us. So we were taken as a little collective, and we was put into a very, very underrepresented, marginalized, backdoor community ghetto in a building that was full of mold, no windows, and we're test rats. They said, okay, we're gonna put these kids here because we don't know what to do with them, but they got to be in school because policies and legalities, So let's just see. Like, I did 3 years of school in 3 months. Got my high school diploma almost 2.5 years early. It was 2 years early. By 16 years old, I was already done with school, working full-time jobs, and living on my own. And coming out of a dysfunctional family with a mother figure that I had just learned every example of who not to. Which gets me to where I wanted to leave my hypothetical is what could be possible if we put a cap limit on salaries for publicly funded nonprofit organizations. So I'm not Trump supporter. I'm not. When it gets to a federal level of politics, I want nothing to do with it. I care about my community politics. I care about my mayors. I care about our school boards, our judges. I care about our police departments and our firemen. And I care about where I live. And I've been for many months now sitting back and I've been watching my country fall apart because Trump has must, and everybody says they're shutting everything down. Now, from an individual that has had 12 brain surgeries, I live and exist in survival mode, in poverty, on disability, because without medical insurance, my daughter and I wouldn't probably have a life. So I have to choose to live in poverty because financially what I'm capable of making because of what my neurodivergent skills allow me to do, I would lose. I don't care about losing the money, but I would lose the medical resources immediately almost. And I don't have a way of making the type of money needed to have brain surgeons, my daughter's whole entire special care team alone. On top of me having brain surgeons, I have to have, blood oncologist specialists for iron and, deficiencies and vitamin deficiencies. And I have to have breast oncologists because of ongoing breast, masses and so let's just be realistic. What if there was a cap on what these CEOs and all these people in these nationally recognized amazing organizations, what if there was a cap? Because let's see, who cannot live comfortably 250,000 a year? Is that realistic enough globally? $250,000 a year. Can you not live a comfortable life and still give back to the world? Because I recently read an article in the Afro Beacon Journal that was talking about feeding America. This is the United States' largest organization to help with hunger and our children, right? Their CEO makes $1.1 some odd million a year. They receive $500 million a year in government funding. What could be done with all of these issues going on just around the hunger? Because, like, let's not mention the issues around incarceration and poverty and mental health and children's services and education. Let's not talk about all the sectors collectively. Just hunger. So if you took a salary of somebody making $1 million, you said, no, you can live on $250,000. I'm going to take this $750,000 of government money and taxpayer dollars, and we're going to give it back to the underrepresented, marginalized communities.
And that's
so this is theoretically what is technically happening right now with the United States government system. If everybody would just take a step back and listen to the people that live in the margins and have the lived experiences to know that your policies and your frameworks, while theoretically and through mission statements, are brilliant. I've been told I don't deserve resources because their organization only represents minorities, and they see me as a white woman and I am a Puerto Rican minority. And that's my hypothesis. I'm done.
You're right. We do need to cap things, and especially when it comes to childcare. And that's why childcare is so expensive, is because they can charge, I apologize, for anything that they can charge anything they want. So in Nevada, actually, my son and daughter-in-law, even though my grandkids are 9 and 12, for them to go to daycare a week, part-time, like 2 hours after school, is close to $1,200 a week. And I don't know about everything else, but we do need to cap some things. If it's a private business, why would you cap it? I don't understand that.
I don't. This question with why would you, your income in a private business be capped? That's what I said, was that if you are a business entity and you are receiving $500 million a year in government funding, you should not have CEOs being paid $1 million a year. And your main priority is feeding America and helping with the hunger crisis. But do you really believe you cannot live comfortably off of $250,000? And I'm not saying private entities should have income limit. I'm saying when you are receiving government funding, that there should be cap limits, because what this is going to do is take all these big wig people that are in it for corporate revenue profit, and they're going to open up the way to the grassroots organizations that are receiving no funding, underrepresented, not even acknowledged. It opens the door to the people that are really out here doing the foot.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, honestly, if you are subcontracted by our government and you're getting all these grants, they're nonprofits, right? Why are you making the big bucks and that kid's over there starving? No, if it's a private business, heck yeah. And I believe that's what they're doing, is they're just like, all right, this isn't right, because all of our tax money is going, like you just said, to a nonprofit CEO for him to make 1.5 when that kid over there isn't doing it. So if you're getting federal money, you shouldn't pay yourself more. I mean, that just is asinine.
When I heard about all these cuts being made,
I get welfare and I'm going to go out and get a job and make more money. And actually, I do know people that actually do this if it is court ordered. I know someone that makes $5,000, but also gets food stamps. You want to know why? It was court ordered so she could accommodate the kids just like the ex-husband. What? Why? What about us that need it? She's got $5,000. Make her go get a job. I mean, and I get very upset about that. But that is what's been slipping through our cracks. And then when it comes to our disabled kids, there's so many grants out there. You guys Google them. Just Google grants in your state. Google grants in your county. Pops up just like that. And so that's why I get really annoyed when everyone says there's nothing out there. There is. What we need to do, though, with these places, like you said, is nonprofits, their CEOs should not be making 1.5 million. Private business, yeah, Leah, you go. The more you make, the more you donate. And damn, girl, I'm all for you for that. You go, because you know what? That's where the only money does come from is private.
Do you know in the UK, Michelle, I'll just very quickly tell you this. Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, has made an announcement to say that every school now will supply a breakfast for every primary school child, because so many children are coming to school hungry. They can't concentrate, they can't work because they're hungry. This is Great Britain. For goodness sake, you're talking about America. We're talking about these huge economies, these entities that hold themselves up as if to say, look at us, look how we're doing it all so well. And actually, that's the announcement. Front page news, Keir Starmer says every child should have breakfast. Well, whoopee bloody do. I mean, that is horrific. In the UK, that is the statement that's made. And the same as the US, if they don't understand, they've got to give everybody a living wage. They've got to have everybody working. If you aren't working, you can't pay your kids. If you're not working, you're not supplying money into the state. You're not paying your taxes. The taxes then can't support the people that need it. It goes round in a bloody circle.
So look, with your riding around, right? Not to with your riding around, to loop it full cycle is 50% of incarcerated population studies have shown they have dyslexia. It is shown that increased risk of drug abuse and self-harm risk because of dyslexia. Because of dyslexia, there is a 46% higher likelihood, not of suicidal ideation, but of suicidal attempt.
There is,
but the issue that nobody discusses.
Guys. I don't know whether we should talk about the funding issue as another.
No, I don't want to talk about it because I don't like.
I just wrapped it back to dyslexia and was,
Yeah, you've done well. Look, Lay, I'm with you. I understand where you're coming from. Lay says, I give the more I make, the more I give.
And when you're a private entity, that's amazing.
I suppose if we believe that capping would mean more money for the service users, I'll be with you.
But the capping is only for the organizations that are nonprofit receiving. My theoretical is when you're receiving government funding for homelessness, when you're receiving government funding for hunger, and when that is what I'm talking about. There should be better guideline control regulation over. If you're getting $500 million.
Don't get stuck on that. I know what you're saying.
Everything is getting fixed, and I see it, and I believe in it, and I understand what you're talking about. But that was the past, and obviously we know our past didn't work, and so we have to try something new. And yes, he never lied that it was not going to. Alon never said it was going to be easy. We're all kind of. And Trump never said it was going to be easy too. You guys, we are 100 years into a cycle that we've never gotten out of, and so I see what they're doing, but you have to. Not everyone's bad. Not every organization is bad. Unfortunately, there are people in certain organizations that have investors in each county that it is the way it was.
Stakeholders
it's not going to be that way.
look, I want to draw attention to Kiefer's comment. I guess it's an end time thing. The rich will
Yes.
get richer, the poor will get poorer.
Yeah, it's
That's
not like left right no more. It's top bottom. You know,
I,
it's not.
yeah. Okay,
Mm.
I can take that. I want to give Coach the last word because he's waited patiently. Say Dr. Latoya, I see what you say. I love it. Great to hear stories, Michelle.
Me too.
Michelle's. There's two of them. Role models are super critical for neurodivergent community, and these two certainly are that for sure. Thank you. Coach, I'll let you have the last word because we do have to go. And Paulette's and I's tea has been ruined now. There's no tea before our next show.
Listen, you're always fashionably late, and Lisa loves us.
Dr. Lisa won't let me be late. Dr. Lisa is on my case already. I want you there 25 minutes earlier. That way we're on time. I'm
Yes.
subjugated. Feel sorry for me, please.
Yeah. The administration of philanthropy and the tax system of countries and what is moral and ethical around giving to humanitarian causes is a very complex political matter, and layered on top of where we are right now in the United States, it's not a very easy conversation to have at this time. There are different sides to the table. But here's what I think: there is a rich or deep pocket somewhere in the world that can bail out any economy in that region. Hopefully, if they think is their social responsibility, one of my personal prayers is that God will really, 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 in this meeting, I've prayed. When Michelle was speaking, and the two Michelles, I prayed. When Prof was speaking, I also prayed because when things touch me, I pray about them. And I said, God, if you can just give me a lot of money and I can just ship money to every farm that has a dyslexic child somewhere, just help me to end this pain. Just give me all the money I need. Just help me. I think if we have more impacts like this all over the world, because like I said, like look at what Prof said about those beautiful children. That's the first-hand report. I was so excited when she said that. They are brilliant people, they are genius, and the world is losing out if we cannot take care of them. So if you're a rich person or a deep pocket, or you have a group you can talk to, this is good. The other part of the conversation is fiscal responsibility without politics. Many times when grants are given, there's a lot of politicking so that the money never gets to the grassroots, and people like Michelle who need the money aren't. This is the second part of the conversation that makes it very unfair. But that's politics, not the humanitarian desire. The other part is that I can see Lee talking about how she's giving and giving, and she doesn't need to give. I mean, it's your prerogative to give, and I know you're a kind person, Lee, and there are many people like you all over the world. If you can have accountability, or there's a system in place that shows that the money gets to the last mile, I'm sure people like Lee don't mind giving. It's just a problem of politics. Even President Donald Trump said it. It's politics. What is going on is can we begin to administer these things in the local environment? And if you have a need for the central, ask us to send it to you, but let it be well coordinated. So I think accountability is king. And I think apart from pressure groups that bring light to neurodivergence, there needs to be pressure groups for accountability of neurodivergency funds and advocacy in that area. How much is reaching the ground? How many children have been covered? How many children are genuine? Like a statistical database. A lot of people go after advocacy for getting the funds, making it popular, but seldom do we go back. There's not enough advocacy around accountability for these groups. That we should take care of this group as a collective responsibility of society is not a maybe for me. How do we administer it? How do we ensure that there's no learned helplessness? How do we ensure that the short, mid to longer terms are sustainable? What can we do? Like I said, just like oxygen is available for free and we all get it, and the earth will work every day, and the earth does not get limited. I'm speaking, I'll speak tomorrow. My voice never finishes. God created abundance, man invented poverty. God created everything in abundance, man invented poverty. It is human beings who use economics and parity and scarcity and all this economic mumbo jumbo to create nonsense that is called poverty. At the root of it is a human creation, and human beings can solve it. That's my last point. Thank you so much.
I wish God had given Paulette, an indefinite sort of, volume of voice. Yeah, and he didn't quite manage that. An abundance of voice. Paulette's voice disappears every so often. Look, Dr. Joseph, as I say, I'm gutted with you. You didn't get to come on the stage studio and share with us. He says you were all great, especially for the two Michelles. Yeah, you truly are. So well done you. Look, thank you so much, everyone. Paulette, you are the host officially, so I'll let you have the last word. How's that? You're muted.
Okay.
Muted.
Okay. My last one was unmuted. I think the answer is this: compassion, kindness, asking questions, be curious. Don't just shut things off if you're not sure, don't understand. Ask the questions. Ask. Nobody will be offended by you asking a question. We're more offended by the fact that you give a look or you make a snide comment. That causes offense. Being curious and asking questions is the way we all learn. And we learn to be kind and compassionate, empathetic individuals. And then we become a community. And then we become a much nicer place. So will that be okay to finish the room?
Perfect. Look, please do join us again in 2 weeks' time. So we're going to do about 10 of these. Maybe more, maybe more or less. Who knows? But probably more, right? Do join us again. So thank you so much. Everyone's giving us a time. Do join us in Lisa's menopause room that's starting in 7 minutes for me and Paulette. I'm joking. She wants us there early, Paulette. Don't look like that. She wants us there. She wants us there early. Otherwise, we'll get told off. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone. Michelle's, you're the stars naturally. So thank you so much. Look, bye everyone. Bye everyone. Bye. She's success with global.media.com and celebrate it with or without champagne or rum. She's success with global.media.com.